Not long after I died, my childhood friend, a genius who had been directly admitted to a chemistry program at a top university, committed suicide. No one expected him, always so calm and composed, to go to the extreme of tying up the person who hurt me and, in a reckless act, detonating a bomb. As the sky lit up with flames, he murmured in despair, "Yen Yen, wait for me." When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school, the year we were not speaking to each other. My deskmate leaned over with a grin and whispered in my ear, "Song Yang, I just saw Lin Shue's draft paper filled with your name. When I encountered a wild animal on the mountain, my best friend instinctively pushed me out as bait. I tumbled down the slope, my leg smashing against a tree, causing an immediate, piercing pain. I'm so sorry, Song Yang. I will always remember you," she said. As the wild animal's attention turned to me, gritting her teeth, she quickly fled with her boyfriend, leaving me behind with broken legs, lying at the bottom of the slope waiting to die. Damn it, love-struck fool. Just yesterday she talked about breaking up, and today she pushes me to the beasts, with no one around. I endured the pain and pulled out my phone, only to see it was almost out of battery. A sense of despair washing over me. This is it. I might be about to meet my great-grandmother. For some reason, maybe subconsciously, or perhaps because I just couldn't give up, I dialed Lin Su, with whom I had been at odds for a year. He answered immediately after just one ring. "Hello," Lin Su's voice came through, somewhat cold. "I'm busy, what's up?" He was always like this, as if unfazed even if the sky were falling, but if I listened closely, I could detect a slight tremble in his voice when he answered the phone. Just like his inner turmoil, I couldn't help it and burst into tears. "Lin Su, I think I'm about to die. After I'm gone, please delete all my chat and browsing history. My bank card is in the pillowcase in my room. The pin is my birthday. There's only 52 yuan left, but consider it a keepsake." Abruptly, I heard the screeching sound of a chair dragging across the floor, and he quickly apologized to the teacher at the lectern before his footsteps hastened. "Song Yang, what's happened?" I didn't dare tell him my situation, but continued hurriedly, "I'm sorry for always fighting with you. It was wrong of me to hit you when we were kids. And the chocolates in your drawer during high school were also stolen by me. I was actually happy when I heard you were admitted early because you're so smart. Skipping grades in school, I should have known you're not from my world. You've always been so aloof, never accepting anyone's confession. And I never dared to say that I actually kind of liked you." Before I could finish, he interrupted me. "Stop talking, I'm checking your location, wait for me." But it was too late. I watched as the wild animal approached me step by step. In the end, I died from excessive blood loss, only managing to utter, "Lin Su, it hurts so much." Before passing away, Lin Su was the first to find my body. I don't know when he installed a tracker on my phone, accompanied by the police. He found my body in the mountains the following afternoon. Under the evening sky, my body, mangled by the wild animal, was barely recognizable, yet, he recognized me in an instant. Thanks to the tracker and the necklace I wore around my neck. Seeing my body, he completely broke down. In all the years I knew him, I had never seen him lose control like that. Always so composed and cool, with a clean, serene face. He had always been the exemplary child of others, though 2 years younger. He skipped grades and was eventually directly admitted to a top university's chemistry program. The gap between us was immense, yet, a year later, he disregarded everyone's objections. He cradled my lifeless body, his eyes red from crying. Later, he asked everyone around me and found out that I had gone hiking that day with my best friend and her boyfriend. But in the end, they returned alive, while I was left dead, mauled by wild beasts. Driven mad with grief, he confronted the two, demanding to know why they had abandoned me. My guilty best friend and her boyfriend insisted that I had accidentally gotten separated from them. He knew that my death was inextricably linked to these two. Not long after, an explosion occurred at an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, killing 2 men and a woman, 2 cowards who abandoned their friend, and 1 promising genius from a chemistry academy. He personally kidnapped them and made a bomb himself, choosing to exact revenge for me by dying together with them. Amidst the blaze, he murmured in despair, "Yang Yang, wait for me." When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the high school classroom. Lin Su, who had just been admitted to a university based on his exceptional performance, was standing in front of my desk. He wore a clean school uniform, his slightly long bangs covering his forehead, and behind his thin-framed glasses were eyes as clear as a cold spring. "Song Yang?" He called my name and casually asked, "Did you eat the chocolate in my drawer?" I stared at him, stunned. A few seconds later, I vigorously nodded. Yes, it was me. "So what?" Lin Su paused for a second, then he suddenly averted his gaze, unable to look at me. You know about it." "What?" I didn't understand at first. In my past life, I indeed ate the chocolate he had kept in his drawer. At that time, confessing by giving chocolate was popular. And when I found the chocolate, I thought it was from some girl who liked him. After all, he was handsome and smart, although somewhat aloof. With his reputation for brilliance, he had charmed many admirers. And many girls confessed to him every term. In a moment of jealousy, I stole the chocolate and gobbled it up. Later, when he asked me about it, I denied everything out of guilt and secretly bought an identical chocolate to replace it. In this new life, I decided to bravely admit my mistake. "I'm sorry. It was me who ate it, don't be mad. I'll buy you another one. It wasn't on purpose. I was just jealous. I confessed earnestly, unexpectedly, as Lin Su listened, his ears turned red. I'm not mad at you, he said through gritted teeth. Seeing my still confused expression, he seemed a bit exasperated. Just then, the bell rang for class, and he didn't look at me again, only muttering, forget it, you've eaten it, no need to replace it. Then he turned and went back to his seat, leaving me dumbfounded at mine. Turning my head, my deskmate looked at me teasingly. Oh, flirting with your childhood sweetheart again? In my past life, it was the same. Knowing that Lin Su and I were childhood sweethearts, classmates always joked about us. Every time, I would angrily deny it, which only made Lin Su more distant. Cough. I coughed twice, admitting that I had indeed put on an act before. What? Jealous? My deskmate, shocked. Wow, Song Yang, you've really thickened your skin. Humph. Thinking back to my past life, where he had died alongside those who had wronged me to avenge me, this earth-shattering commitment of a childhood sweetheart, I feel he might like me more than I had imagined. Reflecting on this, I suddenly remembered that it was on the day I received my direct admission notice in my previous life that I had a big argument with him, which led to a Cold War that lasted a year. Looking back, it seems that my adolescent insecurities were haunting me. Lin Su and I grew up together. Although he was 2 years older, he always seemed more mature, always by my side like a big brother. It wasn't until the direct admission notice arrived that I truly realized the extent of the gap between him and me. It was vast and seemingly insurmountable. After that day, a prolonged Cold War began between us. It was more like a one-sided sulk where I simply stopped interacting with him. Every morning when I arrived at the classroom, he would still habitually place a bottle of hot milk at the corner of my desk. New notes would appear in my drawer from time to time, each one tailored to my weaknesses. On countless nights after evening self-study, he would silently follow me on his bicycle, dispelling the fear of walking home in the dark, until a year later, through my own efforts, I managed to get into his school, though I was barely admitted. No one knew how I lay on my bed that day, crying until I was out of breath. It was a battle with no end in sight, like a relentless march over a narrow bridge, the pressure constantly suffocating me. On many nights, I would break down crying from the stress of solving problems, yet I dared not waste time and had to suppress my sobs while continuing to work. At such moments, I would often run to the balcony with red eyes to steal a glance at the light in the study room next door. He was there, so, even if it took everything I had, I wanted to get closer to him. Returning to the senior year classroom, I still dared not waste a single second. In my previous life, an accident occurred during a mountain hike with my best friend after the freshman military training had ended. The training had just finished, and I didn't really want to go out because I had gotten tanned. But I couldn't resist my best friend's coaxing. Since we would be in different cities for college and opportunities to meet would be rare, I agreed to go. Unexpectedly, her academically average boyfriend, who had only managed to get into a community college, also insisted on coming along despite our reluctance. There we were, so we climbed the mountain together. Looking back, there were signs all along. For instance, every time I scored higher than her in our monthly tests during senior year, she would lash out at me, only to apologize later, claiming it was the stress affecting her emotions. Whenever she had a fight with her boyfriend, she would come to me in tears. I would feel sorry for her and advise her to break up. In front of me, she would agree, but then she would reconcile with him behind my back, even lying about her whereabouts, expecting me to cover for her. And whenever I had an argument with Lin Su, she would relentlessly undermine my self-esteem, manipulate me into seeing the gap between him and me, making me feel unworthy of confessing my feelings to Lin Su. But aren't true friends supposed to wish for your happiness? Such friends aren't really friends, they're more like accomplices to your downfall. So when the bell rang, and Liang Xiao rushed to my seat like countless times before, expertly hooking her arm through mine and chirpily suggesting, come on, let's go to the cafeteria and grab some sweet and sour ribs, I unexpectedly shook off her hand, meeting her surprised gaze. I responded coldly, you grab it yourself, I'm not going. After that, I didn't wait to see her reaction, but turned to buy a rice ball from the kiosk and returned to the classroom. I still had time in my senior year. In my previous life, I barely passed the admission line, never daring to dream of choosing a popular major. Getting accepted is already a stroke of luck, but things are different now, as I have a childhood friend who's a genius at school. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to wait for Lin Su at his seat. The classroom was empty at the moment, and as I approached his desk, I glanced unintentionally into his drawer. There, I saw a familiar package again. It was the same type of chocolate that I had eaten before. Me, damn it, who is it? When Lin Su returned, he found me fiercely biting into a rice ball with one hand and holding the chocolate in the other. Lin Su. Without a word, he sat down beside me, took out a paper from my drawer, and started writing. Seeing this, I got even angrier. All right, playing it cool. Huh, damn it, I'll just eat. I furiously finished the rice ball and chocolate, tasting the bitter flavor of the dark chocolate spreading from my mouth to my heart, while my mind automatically played some background music. Which song should I choose? Suddenly, I heard the sound of rummaging through a pocket next to me. followed by a bottle of warm milk with a straw pushed towards me on the desk. It was December, and the temperature was barely a few degrees, but the milk was still steaming hot from being in his pocket. Accompanied by his cool voice, he said, "I never realized you liked chocolate so much before." "You say that again." I snatched the milk and took a big gulp. "Ah. That cuts the grease, don't worry, I'll compensate you with 4 pieces. "Oh, it's fine, you eat," he said indifferently while continuing with his work. My dad brought back a large box from a business trip. "If you want, there's more at my house." "Huh, oh wow, look who's grown up and learned to lie. Why would you carry 2 pieces of chocolate for no reason? One was for you." He stopped writing, turned to look at me. "The other was for tomorrow, to give to you." Damn, pulling that move, and it's surprisingly heart-fluttering. When my deskmate and her sister came back from lunch, they saw me sitting next to Lin Su, listening intently as he explained a problem. Surprised, my deskmate couldn't resist teasing. "Look at that, it seems that the young man from the Song family is tutoring his little wife." I looked up at her and raised an eyebrow. "Even if you say that, I'm not going to leave him." My deskmate and her sister were stunned. "All right, you two are perfect for each other. A match made in heaven, and you'd better not ever split up if you can't have kids." I've heard such teasing before and didn't take it seriously. I turned my head wanting Lin Su to continue explaining, but the next second I froze when I saw his face. His usually cool and clean face was now slightly flushed. As our eyes met, he quickly looked away, his pen drawing an unintended arc on the scratch paper without his notice. "Song Yang," he called my name softly. Sounding a bit flustered, opened his mouth, but didn't know what else to say. "What's wrong?" I said nonchalantly. "Don't mind her. They just enjoy making such jokes." Because Lin Su usually keeps a stern face and has the aura of a scholarly god around him, people usually don't dare joke with him. And Lin Su himself was unaware that he had a nickname, the Little Wife Razor. Before, I was always quick to deny, seemed to deliberately disassociate himself from me loudly in front of others, which only led to Lin Su becoming increasingly distant from me. I thought. He paused, turned his head, his fingers unconsciously tapping the cap of his pen. "I thought you hated me. That's why you wanted to distance yourself from me." So, he no longer dared to be very close to me in public. The hot milk at the corner of the table every morning, the notes organized in the drawer according to my weaknesses, and the silent 3-meter distance he kept after evening self-study classes. All of these were his ways of maintaining the greatest distance possible from me. Damn, what kind of pure-hearted puppy is this? Suddenly, I was reminded of my childhood. In kindergarten, I told my mom more than once that I hated the boy next door, because he walked slowly and was prone to falling, looked like a doll despite being a boy, and was always bullied by other kids. Because of him, I often ended up fighting with other children. Yet, despite this, he would still show up punctually in front of my house the next morning, backpack on, politely calling me his sister. The memory of his round, dumpling-like face gradually overlapped with the face of the boy before me. The genius prodigy in everyone's eyes was nothing more than the childhood friend who grew up with me. When the bell for class rang, I returned to my seat, and my deskmate Jiang Yuan leaned in and whispered, "What's going on? Have you two finally stopped being awkward with each other?" What awkwardness? I pretended not to know what she was talking about. All right, it wasn't awkwardness, just your little trick to lure him in." After saying this, she suddenly changed the subject, mysteriously saying, "Song Yang, guess what I saw?" I was so startled that I immediately turned to look at the back door, then breathed a sigh of relief. Good, the teacher hadn't arrived. "What is it?" I turned back and asked irritably. "Last week during the chemistry exam, while I was helping the teacher collect the papers, I accidentally saw Lin Su's draft paper. It was full of your name. If the bell hadn't already rung, she would have probably turned into a screaming chicken, shaking me vigorously." You didn't see Lin Su's reaction at the time. He was both embarrassed and flustered, and quickly hid it, telling me not to let you know. She shook me until I was also somewhat flustered. "Then why are you telling me? Come on, what's our relationship? Besides, you should just secretly be happy about this." Lin the god. Hearing this, I instinctively turned my head to look at Lin Su's seat, but the moment our eyes met, he was also looking at me. I don't know how many times this has happened, or maybe I was just used to it. Our eyes met, and he seemed surprised that I would suddenly turn to look at him, his eyes filled with panic as he quickly looked down, pretending to work on a problem, only leaving me to turn back around, feeling the heat in my ears. A crush is an unintentional look back during class that happens to meet his gaze. Turns out, he also steals glances at me, but all this, I had never noticed before. Ignoring my deskmate's teasing gaze, I pretended to be busy, pulling out several textbooks from my drawer, completely unaware that this class was meant for self-study. When evening self-study ended at 10 o'clock, as usual, Lin Su quietly followed behind me with his bicycle, just like when we were in kindergarten. He was 2 years younger than me, always obediently following behind me, like an inseparable little tail. I turned my head to look at him, and he stopped walking. From 3 meters away, I waved him over. "Come here, get closer." His eyes lit up, pushing the cart. I quickly caught up. On a winter's night, I walked side by side with him on the way home, the street lights stretching our shadows long. "From tomorrow, no, starting tonight, you'll tutor me." My goal is to get into the same university as you, Yen Yen. Are you feeling okay? Are you saying I'm out of my mind? No, you're not sick. Then why can you get into University A and I can't? Well, you can. Getting into University A was not just talk. With Lin Su's help, I set up a strict study plan. In my previous life, it was due to exceptional performance in the college entrance exams, plus some luck in choosing preferences, that I barely got accepted this time around. I want to choose a major I like with Lin Su. Perhaps the heavens gave me a second chance and didn't want me to cheat again. I tried hard, but couldn't recall the exam questions I had faced in my previous life, so without much struggle, I began to immerse myself wholeheartedly in studying. Later, when Liang Xiao came looking for me several times, I brushed her off. She thought I was still upset about her losing her temper after the last monthly test, where I scored significantly higher than her by over 20 points. She wanted to brush it off like before, claiming stress, apologizing verbally, but still trying to manipulate me. Although your grades have improved significantly recently, Yen Yen, and I say this only because you're my best friend. You and Lin Su are still worlds apart. He's a genius who skipped grades and got recommended for advancement. Let's not overestimate ourselves. I nodded non-committally. Are you done? I need to go find Lin Su to help me with some problems. Seeing that I completely ignored her, Liang Xiao got angry. Fine. If you won't listen to me, then let's not be best friends anymore. She thought I would cajole her like before, but I just nodded, turned around, and went to find Lin Su with my papers. With the experience of my previous life, I dared not mingle with someone obsessed with romance again. I didn't miss the flash of resentment in her eyes as I left, though I didn't know what mischief she was holding back. But with only half a year left until the college entrance exams, I didn't want to waste my precious time on her. Soon it was January, and the end-of-term exams were approaching. Lin Su had been chosen to represent our school in a city-level chemistry competition and had been training one-on-one with a teacher for the past 2 days. It was snowing on the day of the competition. During lunch, I sneaked some time on my phone and saw that a milk tea shop I liked had launched a new product, a winter special, something I had never tried even in my previous life. After all, every time I finished my evening self-study, it was already 10 o'clock and the milk tea shop was closed. I forwarded the news to Lin Su and then remembered that his competition was at 2 o'clock that afternoon. He must be about to leave, so I didn't wait for his reply and went back to the classroom to nap. For the past half-month, following the study plan, I studied every night until midnight and woke up at 5:30 am to memorize vocabulary, getting only about 5.5 hours of sleep each day. My dark circles were more pronounced than ever. If not for chewing on coffee beans to keep awake, I might have fallen asleep during class. The classroom was warm, and I soon fell asleep in my sleep. I felt as if someone was watching me. Blinking awake, I saw Lin Su. We had just rearranged the seats last week, and I was now sitting by the window. Through the window pane, dressed in a white down jacket, Lin Su stood outside, probably not wanting to wake me. He just quietly watched me. I don't know for how long. The world outside was shrouded in a blanket of white, the accumulated snow reflecting the winter sunlight. His skin was pale, and he wore no scarf, his nose slightly reddened from the cold. When he met my gaze, his eyelashes trembled slightly. I was still leaning on the desk, but my right hand had instinctively reached out. The moment my fingertips touched the cold glass, my brain snapped into clarity. I was about to ask why he hadn't come inside when I saw him raise his left hand to cover mine. His clearly defined large hand completely enveloped mine, making my own hand seem delicate in comparison. He slightly curved his lips into a smile, seemingly pleased. Outside, the world was icy and snowy, but the look in his eyes as he gazed at me was so tender, it seemed it could melt the snow. Even though a cold pane of glass separated us, I inexplicably felt warmth at my fingertips. Suddenly, he leaned forward and breathed on the glass. Instantly, the glass fogged up, obscuring his face. I found it amusing, withdrew my hand, and stood up, carefully navigating around my sleeping deskmate. I went out to meet him, but by the time I pushed open the classroom door, he had already turned and walked away. In the snowy afternoon, the figure in the white down jacket nearly blended into the snowflakes. Left on the windowsill was a cup of packaged milk tea. It was from the tea shop I had just shared with him, their winter special. It seemed he had kept it close on his way to the school, as the milk tea was still steaming when I held it. Had he really come all the way to school before his match just to bring me this cup of milk tea, without even a word? What a silent guy. Feeling cheerful, I lifted the corners of my mouth, ready to take the milk tea back to the classroom, but as I turned and saw the lingering mist on the glass, I froze. Written there, stroke by stroke, were the words, "Keep going." The light that stayed on late into the night in my room, the 5:30 am alarm, the packets of instant coffee that were torn open, finishing a bundle of pen refills in half a month. He had seen all my efforts. He might not speak sweet nothings or make grand confessions, but he was there, silently supporting me. On that winter afternoon, he stood by the window, watching me sleep, and quietly wrote those 2 words, "Keep going." Come to my side. On the day the final exam scores were released, I made it into the top 10 of my grade for the first time. Our class teacher, Mr. Fong, stood on the podium, his face creased with smiles, his eyes filled with relief as he congratulated me. Song Yang has made great progress recently. Keep this up and there's hope for you at university and next year. Everyone should learn from Song Yang. Hearing this, before I could even feel happy, my gaze instinctively searched for Lin Su. He was smiling. When our eyes met, he paused for a second, then silently mouthed, "Well done." His praise made me break into a wide smile. Seeing this, others in the class spontaneously let out a surprised "Oh." My desk mate, Jiang Yuan, leaned in and whispered as before, "I'm so jealous. I wish I had a childhood friend guaranteed a spot at University A to help me with questions too." Jealousy won't help. I tried to keep a straight face, but couldn't contain the smile in my eyes. "He's mine. All right, all right. We're all planning to celebrate New Year's Eve together. Remember to bring your Lin Xuexian with you." She emphasized the word yours. Hearing this, I realized that nearly 2 months had passed since my rebirth. New Year's Eve, in my past life at this time, Lin Su and I were still not on speaking terms. I feared it would be awkward running into him at the class reunion, so I didn't go on New Year's Eve. Later, I found out that Lin Su didn't go either. He stayed away because he was worried I would feel awkward. That's just like him, always quietly looking out for me in his own way. Thinking it over, I sent him an invite on my way home. Okay, he agreed immediately but then hesitated. "I have to visit my grandma that night, though. Is it okay if you go ahead by yourself? Do I really need you to babysit me?" He didn't respond, just turned to look at me. It then dawned on me that since my rebirth, I had indeed been sticking close to him every day. Never mind, I'll just go. On New Year's Eve, I dressed in my newly bought clothes and set out for the meeting. It started snowing heavily on the way, and I worried about the return trip when I arrived. I was surprised to find Liang Xiao had brought 2 guys along. One was her college boyfriend from her past life, Chen Fei, and the other was his best friend, Wang Xiang. Both were from the class next door and known troublemakers, regularly skipping classes to go online. They were the ones always giving apologies under the national flag each month. Chen Fei was somewhat handsome and skilled at sweet talking, which not only won Liang Xiao over but also led him to pass a love note to me on behalf of Wang Xiang before the college entrance exams. Allegedly, Lin Su was out of my league, and I would be better off with his girlfriend's best friend, hinting at double dates in the future. I was so frightened at the time that I immediately declined, yet she insisted it was well-intended. Looking back, she clearly intended to disrupt my focus before the exams. Truly despicable. I thought more people would make it merrier, so I brought them along. Hope no one minds, Liang Xiao said with a smile. Hearing this, the other classmates couldn't say much. We had agreed on going Dutch, so, out of courtesy for Liang Xiao, no one pushed the issue. I avoided looking their way again and quickly sat down next to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan leaned in and whispered, "You did the right thing breaking it off with her. Does she even listen to reason when she's in love? Please tell her to eat something good for once, right?" I smirked. Those two had been inseparable since they arrived, whispering sweet nothings, while Wang Xiang leered at the girls in our class. When our eyes accidentally met, he gave me a sly, familiar smile. Ugh. I felt even more uncomfortable. Soon, the room filled up, and the class monitor started organizing games. The game was the classic truth or dare. Since we were still in our senior year and some of us were underage, there was no alcohol. Losers could choose between juice or water. As classmates who saw each other day in and day out, we all knew who the couples in the making were, so the game was played with a bit of matchmaking. Laughter filled the room until I drew the card that meant punishment. In this round, Liang Xiao was the one who had to assign the punishment. Well, what to do? Our esteemed scholar Lin Su isn't even here. Joked someone. As everyone in the class knew about my relationship with Lin Su, Liang Xiao seemed prepared, even a bit excited. "Song Yang, I won't make it too hard for you. Just hug the person who draws the other punishment card." As she spoke, the room went silent, everyone looking around. Then Wang Xiang, sitting next to Liang Xiao, raised his card and exchanged a knowing look with her, his smile one of triumph. "Sorry, the other punishment card is right here." The room fell silent for a moment, reflecting on what just happened. Liang Zhao's boyfriend, Chen Fei, had volunteered enthusiastically to deal cards, leaving no room for confusion among everyone. Zhang Yang, the class rebel with bleached hair, furrowed his brows and exclaimed in confusion, "Huh? This guy was a unique presence in our class. Thanks to his family's wealth, his father had donated a building to the school upon his admission. Consequently, despite his poor grades and his rebellious dyed hair, and even though he occasionally skipped classes or arrived late, no one dared to reprimand him." "Liang Xiao, are you out of your mind? Why are you siding with outsiders against our own classmates?" he blurted out, causing the rest of the class to frown and look towards Liang Xiao and her group. "Yeah." "Liang Xiao, what's going on?" they echoed, noticing her discomfort. Feeling her boyfriend's disapproving gaze, Liang Xiao bit her lip and defended. "It's just a game, right? Everyone took their punishment before, so why can't Song Yang take it now? It's just a hug. Nothing serious." Wang Xiang chimed in with a grin as he walked towards me, arms already outstretched. To avoid any misunderstanding, I pushed Jiang Yuan, who tried to shield me, aside. I had already calculated how to deliver a kick that Wang Xiang wouldn't forget. Just then, the door to the room was flung open. Everyone instinctively turned towards the door. Lin Su dressed in a black down jacket, appeared. Seeing Wang Xiang already close to me, he frowned slightly and quickly approached. Before I could react, he had pulled my arm and positioned me safely behind him. At the same time, Zhang Yang also sprang into action, grabbing Wang Xiang, who was slightly shorter, and pushed him like dominoes, causing both him and the couple behind him, Liang Xiao and Chen Fei, to fall over embarrassingly. You think you're worthy of her, you toad lusting after swan meat. Zhang Yang was furious. He might be a troublemaker, but he was not foolish and had a strong sense of justice, looking like a joke. And you think you deserve a hug from our class's top beauty? As the couple tumbled together, their foolish affection for each other was clear as day. Who the hell are you? Liang Zhao's boyfriend, clearly aware of Zhang Yang's status, didn't dare retort and just glared daggers at Lin Su, who was shielding me, thinking to myself that he was a loose cannon. I suppressed the urge to tell him to stay away if he didn't want trouble, and instead affectionately took Lin Su's arm. He's the boy next door I grew up with, I said. At this, Lin Su stiffened but didn't pull away, realizing the situation. The rest of the class started to blame the trio led by Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao, embarrassed, instinctively tried to cling to Chen Fei's arm but was harshly shrugged off. Aren't I embarrassed enough? He snapped, glaring at Liang Xiao before quickly leaving the room. Seeing this, Liang Xiao scrambled to her feet and followed him. Only Wang Xiang remained, still pinned down by Zhang Yang, facing his deadly glare and spilling the beans in fear. It wasn't my idea. Liang Xiao said she had a single friend she wanted to set me up with, he confessed. Hearing this, Lin Su's demeanor turned icy. Just you. His words alone made Wang Xiang's face turn beet red. Fancy thoughts for an ugly guy, Zhang Yang sneered. Kicking him? Now, with the room filled with our classmates, Wang Xiang, knowing he was at fault and after being kicked, didn't dare to speak up and just slunk away in disgrace. Everyone looked at me and then at each other, before turning their gaze to Lin Su, whose expression was even colder than usual. It seemed everyone had lost the desire to continue playing around, and they started suggesting that it was getting late and that our study god should be getting some sleep. They urged me to take him home. Me, am I some kind of dog trainer? With no other choice, I led Lin Su away, but not before shooting Jiang Yuan a look. Don't think I didn't see it. She was the one who messaged Lin Su right before the game started. Catching my gaze, Jiang Yuan gave me a look that said, sister, I understand you. Ha! So you think you know everything, huh? I followed Lin Su out of the KTV. Outside, the heavy snow continued to fall. On New Year's Eve, the streets were nearly empty. How did you get here? I asked Lin Su. He didn't reply. The unmelted snowflakes on his shoulders answered for him. In the dead of winter, running all the way here from his grandmother's house. It wasn't hard to guess why. Don't worry, I wasn't bullied. Silence, you arrived just in time. And everyone from class was there, so they wouldn't have let me be bullied. Still silence. If you're going to sulk like this, then I'm leaving. With that, I turned around and stormed off. But I hadn't taken more than a few steps when I slipped on the snow. As I was about to hit the ground, I instinctively grabbed Lin Su's arm. Seeing this, he also instinctively pulled me up. However, the force was mutual. He grabbed me but lost his own balance due to the slippery road. With a thump, both of us ended up falling into the snow together, him holding me in his arms. Snowflakes landed on the nape of my exposed neck, bringing a slight chill. Stunned, I looked at Lin Su, whom I had toppled onto the ground, too close. I could clearly see through my glasses the eyes behind his. In them, there was clarity, reflecting only my figure. Meeting my gaze, his eyelashes fluttered, and he suddenly spoke. So, in your heart, am I still just the boy next door who grew up with you, huh? His question caught me off guard, and I inadvertently breathed out, fogging up his face. I watched as his face turned instantly red. He pushed my head away and quickly stood up. Then, like lifting a large doll, he pulled me up from the snow, steadying me and brushing off the snowflakes from my body. It's nothing, he finally spoke again, his voice hoarse. Let's go back. The walk back was incredibly quiet. Lin Su's parents were at his grandmother's house for the new year, and his place was empty. But considering the close encounter we just had in the snow, and finally understanding the implication of his earlier words, my heart was still racing, and I felt too shy to invite him over to my place for the new year. The stairwell in the old building was dimly lit as I followed him upstairs. One step behind, he coughed loudly twice, and reluctantly, the motion sensor light in the stairwell came on, from the first to the third floor. A short distance was stretched into a seemingly intimate atmosphere due to the narrow stairwell and dim lighting, until he stopped at my door. Go inside, he said softly. The next second, the voice-activated light had just gone out. In the darkness, a sudden surge of courage came over me from nowhere. I stepped forward, reached out swiftly, and snatched the thin-framed glasses from his nose before he could react, tiptoeing, and just like that, it was done. The next second, I turned around, unable to look at him any longer, stomped my foot hard, and only then did the voice-activated light come back on. With my back turned, I handed him his glasses, and it took him several seconds to reach out and take them. Then, I immediately pulled out my keys, opened the door, and slipped inside. My parents were watching a comedy show on the Spring Festival Gala, laughing joyfully. Hearing the door close, they only glanced up at me briefly. You're back. Then their eyes were glued to the TV again. I leaned back against the door, my heart pounding wildly. Damn, I can't believe I was actually that bold. Thinking this, I stood still to calm down for a few seconds. It wasn't until I realized that there was no sound of the door closing behind me that I sensed something was off. I turned around and peered through the peephole at the door. Outside, Lin Su still stood there motionlessly. From my angle, I could vaguely see his ears and the side of his face flushed red. A long while passed. And only when the corridor's light went out again did he finally raise his hand to cover the side of his face I had just kissed. In the darkness, I heard him let out a frustrated, "Ah." And then he turned his head to look towards my door. Our eyes met, and even though I knew he couldn't see me, my heart skipped a beat, so I immediately turned and ran back to my room, so swiftly that my mother exclaimed, "What are you doing? Acting like a thief?" Indeed, I was stealing hearts. I collapsed onto my bed, burying my face in the pillow. It took a long time, until my face turned red and I was almost out of breath. Before I finally lifted my head, my heart was still racing. Before I could calm down, my phone in my pocket vibrated twice. Pulling it out, I saw a message from Lin Su. "Lin Su, I'm not mad at you." His awkward tone clearly responded to what I had said at the KTV entrance earlier. How adorable. Even I didn't realize I was smiling as I was about to type a reply to his message when suddenly a whoosh sound came from outside. The next second, fireworks burst into the air. It was midnight. I sat up from the bed, about to go to the balcony to watch the fireworks. But then my phone vibrated twice again. "Lin Su, Happy New Year." Yang Yang. "Lin Su, good night." With the sound of one firework after another exploding outside, along with Lin Su's timely blessing. Countless broadcast messages also arrived, but I couldn't be bothered to look anymore. I tossed the phone aside, flipped over, and buried myself back in the blankets. There was no need to go to the window to see the fireworks anymore, I thought. Because the biggest firework of the night had already exploded in my heart. Winter turned to spring, and soon it was the second semester of my senior year. Less than half a year left until the college entrance exam, after the mock exam results were released. I made it into the top 3 of my grade for the first time. Mr. Fong, our homeroom teacher, was as thrilled as before, his eyes nearly disappearing as he smiled. Great, great. Now getting into a university seems stable. Our class is going to produce 2 university scholars. After saying that, he joyfully went off to boast to the other teachers in the staff room. For a while, I became well known among the whole grade's teaching staff, and sometimes when Lin Su and I walked along, other students would come over, ostensibly to rub off some of the top students' luck. However, Mr. Fong's delight lasted only a few days. He shouted out loud, "See you at a university," with his words echoing in my ears. I felt an adrenaline rush during the entire exam the next day. When the results were announced, I had performed exceptionally well, securing the position of the top science student in the city. That entire summer, I was overjoyed to the point of being disoriented. The day the university admission letter was delivered to my house, I stood downstairs and shouted Lin Su's name loudly, and the whole neighborhood could hear it. Amidst the curious neighbors peering out of their windows, a familiar figure finally appeared at a familiar third-floor window, seeing me downstairs. His lips curved into a smile instantly, and I, raising the admission letter in my hand, waved my arms joyfully. I got into a university, I shouted happily. Now we can go to a university together. Hearing this, all the neighbors who had opened their windows to watch the excitement burst into laughter and congratulated me warmly. Among the sounds of congratulations, I saw Lin Su opening his mouth, and then, as if worried I couldn't hear him, he shouted out loud again. He raised his hands to his mouth in the shape of a megaphone. The next second, I heard his voice, cheerier and louder than I had ever heard before. "I heard it," he announced. His eyes and brows curved with a smile, happier than ever before. "Let's go to a university together." Yang Yang. That night, Lin Su, who rarely posted anything online, unexpectedly shared a post on his social circle. The caption was just 2 words, "Lin Su, congratulations." The post included pictures of 2 admission letters placed side by side, the golden embossed letters of a university's full name shimmering under the sunlight. Following his post, I also shared one. It was the same picture, but with a different 2-word caption, Song Yang, together happy. Just a few minutes after refreshing the page, comments started flooding in. Jiang Yuan, just a passerby, is this a wedding scene? Zhang Yang, just a passerby, is this a wedding scene? Class leader, just a passerby, is this a wedding scene? With a smile, I also left a comment below. Song Yang, stop joking, he's still underage. Yes, because he skipped 2 grades during school. My childhood friend Lin Su was still underage. What a sweet trouble indeed. With a resigned smile, I put down my phone and looked up, only to meet Lin Su's slightly resentful gaze. Going to call me the boy next door again? No. I immediately erased my smile, my expression dead serious. He's a boyfriend in training for the future. Yep, the puppy was pleased. In September, the school season began. I packed my bags and set off for school with Lin Su on the high-speed train. Before leaving, Jiang Yuan reluctantly bid me farewell. "I'll come to a university to hang out after military training is over," I responded with a smile. It's quite miraculous, really. Because of my rebirth, the entire class was motivated to study harder. In the end, even Zhang Yang, who originally had no university to attend, got admitted to a University of Applied Sciences. The day the results came out, His wealthy father was so thrilled that he donated a library to the school. My deskmate Jiang Yuan also performed exceptionally in the exams, securing a place in Z University, which ranked just below a university, since it was in the neighboring province. We planned to visit each other's schools. Liang Xiao, who took a break to study for exams at home, saw her grades plummet, finally only managing to secure a spot in a second-tier university. Her parents decided to have her repeat the year in another school. I wonder if she ever regretted spending her critical senior year indulging in a premature romance. However, all these were now unrelated to me. Looking at the grand entrance of a university, I couldn't help but remark, as expected of the top institution, even the gates look majestic. Come on, Yang Yang, you and Xiao Su stand together, I'll take a photo, Lin Su's father suggested with a smile as he accompanied us for registration. So, we stood together in front of the gates of a university. As Lin Su's dad lifted the camera, he also suggested, okay, move closer, a bit more, feeling a bit shy in front of the adults. I took small steps closer to Lin Su. Why don't you two make a V sign, or strike some pose? As he spoke, I was about to make a V sign with my hand, but suddenly felt a weight on my right shoulder. It was Lin Su. Wrapping his arm around me, I instinctively looked up. Under the sunlight, the young man's lips curved into a smile, as joyful as the day the admission letters arrived. When he was 5 years old, with a little backpack on his shoulders, we stood at the entrance of the kindergarten. The adults, smiling, urged us to come closer together, and he cautiously reached out to grab my braid, calling out to me in a tender voice, "Sister." At 18, I enrolled in his university. Standing at the entrance of the campus, he wrapped his arms around me, whispering in my ear with a smile, "Yang Yang, come closer." And so, a little closer, and then a little closer. Click, the moment was captured just like that. End of the main text. Extra. Everyday Romance 1. Song Yang and Lin Su officially became a couple in their sophomore year of university. For Lin Su's 18th birthday, Song Yang had been preparing a surprise for months and even asked Lin Su's roommate to keep it a secret. But in the end, it was Lin Su who took the initiative. Before entering the room, he paused, looking earnestly at Song Yang. "Yang Yang, I'm an adult now." "I know." Song Yang nervously watched the door behind which her carefully prepared surprise for Lin Su lay, missing the fleeting nervousness in Lin Su's eyes. The next second, it was the familiar brief touch. Then, Lin Su turned and pushed the door open. The roommate, who had been hiding behind the door, immediately set off the party poppers. Amidst the loud bangs, colorful ribbons flew through the air, and everyone shouted birthday wishes to Lin Su. Only Song Yang, still standing at the doorway, was stunned, her hands covering her mouth, still feeling the lingering warmth of Lin Su's lips, always pulling the stunt, but still, it was thrilling. 2. In her senior year, Song Yang went on an internship out of town. The two of them experienced a long-distance relationship for 6 months. It seemed that they had never been apart for such a long time since childhood, so when Song Yang received a call from Lin Su late at night, she thought he just missed her. "Yang Yang, this math problem is so hard, I can't solve it." The voice on the other end sounded aggrieved, catching Song Yang off guard. When Song Yang didn't respond, he whispered again, "But, for the sake of going to school with you, I'll work hard." It turned out his skipping grades was for this reason. Song Yang found it amusing. After coaxing him to sleep, she then saw a message from Lin Su's roommate sent half an hour ago. Lin Su's roommate, little sister-in-law. Today another roommate had a birthday, and everyone had a bit to drink. Lin Su got drunk and kept calling out for his sister. "I'm sure he meant you." Lin Su's roommate, when others get drunk, they either fall asleep or act crazy. But this guy kept shouting about going to school with his sister while solving a whole set of calculus problems. Lin Su's roommate, this is terrifying. Is this what they call a pure love warrior? Song Yang. The next morning, when Lin Su woke up and saw the completed calculus problems, he pondered for a moment and then turned to ask his roommate, "Did you guys sneakily finish my calculus problems while I was asleep?" "Roommate, I must be crazy to do your homework for you." 3. After their undergraduate studies, Lin Su and Song Yang both continued their research at the same university. Good news, Jiang Yuan also passed the graduate entrance exams and joined them. Bad news, Lin Su now had a little mother-in-law competing for his attention. Fortunately, the little mother-in-law fell for his roommate at first sight, and with Song Yang's matchmaking, the two soon started dating. Thus, their trio's outings turned into double dates. Song Yang often reflected that having such a good friend and partner made her life complete. The next second, while the two across from them were distracted, Lin Su quickly kissed her and then seriously asked, "If she and I both fell into the water, who would you save first?" Song Yang. "I remember you can swim." 4. Lin Su had a dream. In the dream, Song Yang died in their freshman year. When found, her body had been so mangled by wild animals that it was unrecognizable. But he still knew it was her instantly. The necklace around her neck was the gift he gave her for her 16th birthday. He woke up crying from the dream, startling Song Yang beside him. "What's wrong?" She leaned over to kiss his face. The next second, she was enveloped in his embrace. He clung to her like a scared puppy, seeking comfort and reassurance. He buried his head in her chest. Finally, under Song Yang's persistent questioning, he quietly shared the dream he had, unexpectedly. After listening, Song Yang suddenly asked him, what if it were true? What if I really were killed by someone? What would you do then? She emphasized the word if, highlighting that it was just a hypothetical scenario. He looked up, meeting Song Yang's curious gaze. He knew he had to answer this question. Without hesitation, he said, then I would blow them up. Song Yang was initially silent, then she agreed. Good idea. From that day on, to maintain world peace, Song Yang started to value her life even more.